This is getting ridiculous. After going down with an apparent injury versus the Winnipeg Jets and returning to the game, we get multiple shocking Vancouver Canucks updates on not only Quinn Hughes, but another forward as the injuries continue to pile up for the Canucks early season, while we also get an update on another forward that is being activated off injury reserves and soon returning to the Canucks lineup. We're going to break down all this, a report on Quinn Hughes and another forward, and so much more in this episode, and you're not going to miss it. So let's just dive straight into it today, where the Vancouver Canucks have been dealing with quite a few injuries going into the start of the season. We see Nils Höglander not even stated into a game yet, but the biggest thing is with the Canucks, we do get a positive report coming from the PR as Patrik Allvin announced yesterday that Jonathan Lekkerimaki has been activated from injured reserves and assigned to the Abbotsford Canucks. Now with this, a lot of people looked at this and said, hey, why is Jonathan Lekkerimaki not being called up straight to the Vancouver Canucks, a team that needs goal scoring on their roster? But the biggest thing is the forward has been out since the game versus the Washington Capitals, where we did see Filip Hronek go down with his injury, Jonathan Lekkerimaki went down his, and we also did see Teddy Blueger go down. Now with this game, it was quite some time ago the Canucks came off a win, but without this, they lost 3 forwards in this game. So Jonathan Lekkerimaki is probably stated to go back down to Abbotsford to get some extra work, and maybe he gets a conditioning stint, but it does seem like the Canucks want to make sure the forward is 100% before coming into the lineup after dealing with an upper body injury with this game. Now the big thing with Jonathan Lekkerimaki, a much needed piece in this Canucks offense, someone with a great shot and scoring opportunities, Jonathan Lekkerimaki in 4 games did only register a goal, but the early season struggles from the Vancouver Canucks, you cannot pin this on the young Swedish forward coming back into this lineup. Now with Jonathan Lekkerimaki, we know the biggest things, his goal scoring, he's going to create offense, he's going to be placed in the middle 6 of this lineup when he does return, but the Vancouver Canucks definitely need more players coming back, and that also means that Abbotsford does need more players as most of their talent has been called up to the Vancouver Canucks in the wake of injuries. We've seen the Abbotsford Canucks going a big skid because of the current goaltending injuries. We've seen the forward injuries. We know the defenseman Jet Wu is out. But with Jonathan Lekkerimaki coming back, it does take one extra name off the injury reserves and long term, where we do know Nils Höglander, Derek Forbort, Hito, Blueger, Mancini. There's so many guys on this, and it doesn't even include Thatcher Demko, who is week to week after going out in the game versus the Jets on his own. So with this Canucks team, they're dealing with a ridiculous amount of injuries. There's no other team in the NHL that has this many man games lost out of a starting lineup, especially when you're calling up Victor Mancini to fill in for someone like Derek Forbort. Then he goes down with an injury. Tom Villander's called up, who is playing excellent, but the Vancouver Canucks cannot get away from this injury bug, and it seems like a reoccurring thing with this team as they continuously progress through the seasons. Now going into this, we know Jonathan Lekkerimaki is set to return to at least Abbotsford, but hopefully called up to the Canucks to add scoring to the team. Now looking at the lineup, Jonathan Lekkerimaki will jump straight into the middle 6 as a scoring winger. You're not going to break up the Calder line. You're not going to break up the top line, but getting Jonathan Lekkerimaki in on this team is going to be big. Now looking at the team, there's a couple new names in the lineup. Mackenzie joins in on the forward group. Pierre-Olivier Joseph joins in on the defense, which just shows the Vancouver Canucks are once again dealing with more injuries as we get an update from Dan Murphy on the situation, going in to say Hughes is day-to-day. Status for tomorrow night to be announced. Drew O'Connor needed a sick day. So now with this, the biggest thing is Drew O'Connor should be able to return. There's a lot of positives to look at this, but also negatives that the Vancouver Canucks have their captain, their best player in Quinn Hughes currently day-to-day. Now listen, with this, he could just return. We've seen him come in to this game, but the biggest thing is with the Vancouver Canucks, if you're missing Drew O'Connor, if you're missing Quinn Hughes, going into the game tomorrow night versus the Carolina Hurricanes, this is the current list minus Jonathan Lekkerimaki that the Vancouver Canucks are currently without. Adding in Thatcher Demko, who is not going to be placed on IR or long-term injury reserves anytime soon, it seems like. Getting this list smaller and smaller is what you want, and adding 3 more players to the press box or injury reserve is not what the team wants to do. I mean, we've seen Quinn Hughes, he looked disgruntled. He did come back out to play, which is the big positive sign of this, he returned to the game. He got back into the game straight away with the power play, but with Quinn Hughes going out, he had the penalty. He didn't serve it. He's seen the Canucks are on the power play. He came out. He logged a bunch of minutes. But with this team trying to get healthy, if Quinn Hughes is missing multiple games in a season where the Vancouver Canucks have not started hot, this makes things even worse for the team. As I said, Quinn Hughes, phenomenal in the game versus the Jets. 3 assists, and he put up almost or just over 28 minutes time on ice, leading the Vancouver Canucks, which he does every single game. But returning to the game does show the positive side. If Quinn Hughes did not return to this game, if he stayed out the majority of the game, if he didn't come back at all, then you start to panic. But seeing the day-to-day after returning, this could be soreness. This could just be wanting to get a day off. The Canucks are dealing with so much that you don't want to risk throwing him into a situation, which makes it questionable if he's playing on Friday. But this is a Canucks team that cannot go a stint without Quinn Hughes in their lineup. 13 points over 14 games, the best defenseman in the NHL, 27 minutes time on ice at 26 years old. This Canucks team is not only fighting for a playoff spot, but it's also fighting to keep Quinn Hughes on their team, a team that wants to compete. We know they're actively looking at trades. They're going to continuously look to get better. But losing these players out of the lineup, it's just making it harder for this team to get consistency out of their pairings, out of their forward groups, consistency on the working on the penalty kill, which they absolutely suck on. Listen, a lot of people that watch this know I'm very optimistic. I like to lean into the positives of the Canucks. There's a lot of positives. PD looks like a Selke candidate player right now. We know the Canucks struggles, but this is a team that's fighting every single night with a lineup that doesn't look great or what we're used to seeing. Being positive on this Canucks team, it isn't the easiest thing, but there's a lot of easy things to point out. I mean, looking at Evander Kane, I think he led the NHL in shots over the past, 5, 6, 7 games. The biggest thing is the Canucks are working their way. We've seen the games. Yes, the game versus the Jets suck. Yes, you lose to the Avs in overtime, but 2 of the top teams in the NHL that you're facing off against, and you made it competitive. The game versus the Jets, the biggest thing is losing Quinn Hughes for a brief stint. You lose Thatcher Demko. You fight your way through on a 5-3 loss. 2 of the goals were not even great. This is a Canucks team that needs to figure things out. That's getting consistently healthy players within this lineup. It's a team right now sitting in the bottom 4 in the wildcard race. Now, the biggest thing is, being only 3 points out from Chicago, you can make the push. You can get into this lineup. But Canucks fans, what is your thoughts? This is an injury-riddled season. We've dealt with it before. It feels like this team is cursed. It's almost inexcusable to even talk about where they are in the lineup because of what injuries they have. But what is your thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on Quinn Hughes? What is your thoughts on Doc? He is having a sick day, but maybe he misses the game. Quinn Hughes is day-to-day. Thatcher Demko is week-to-week. Everything continues to pile up. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And speaking on comments, let's go right into Mike Honda's comments. And he says, what's going on with the Canucks? Why so many injuries? And the biggest thing is, I kind of looked at this and I spoke to people. I said, hey, maybe they built the practice facility on a cursed land, but listen, they don't even have a goddamn facility at this point. So you can't even blame this. I think there's some kind of curse. Maybe Jim Benning put a curse on this team after being let go. I don't know what is happening, but something has to give at a certain point to this team. And it's kind of driving fans, including myself, insane. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? Go down and leave a comment below. Leave your comment on who do you think wins the game versus Carolina. Listen, I think the Canucks do win it. I think Quinn Hughes may be back, but listen, this is a team that's going to get better. They're going to progress as more players come back. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. But that would be it for this episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go down and leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode. Bye. I've been your host, Mark Pye, and